The helicopter in the rain. The storm came fast, with no warning. 1 minute the skies above Glenwood Hostel were a dull, sleepy grey. The next, thunder cracked like a gunshot across the hills and sent guests scrambling to shut their windows. The temperature dropped sharply. Rain started as a whisper. Then, like someone had opened a faucet in the heavens, it became a violent downpour that shook the roof and turned the gravel driveway into a muddy river. Maya stood by the common room fireplace, her hands wrapped around a chipped ceramic mug of lukewarm tea. Her eyes flicked to the large window overlooking the back fields. Beyond the fogged-up glass, the world had vanished into shadow and rain. "Welcome to the Scottish Highlands," someone muttered, laughing. People were crowded around the fire, playing. Cards, sipping hot cocoa, scrolling through phones. Backpackers, hikers, a couple on a delayed honeymoon. Familiar strangers. Everyone had some story. Everyone liked to talk. Everyone except him, the guy in the back bunk room. Room 6, she'd first seen him 4 days ago, checking in late at night. He had no reservation, paid in cash, and signed the guest book with a single initial. L. Tall, lean, maybe mid-30s, strong jawline but gaunt cheeks. Not traditionally handsome, but his silence made people stare. His presence was quiet but undeniable. His eyes, grey, watchful, seemed to study everything and everyone without a single word. He carried a black backpack, scuffed and worn at the edges. Nothing flashy but military grade. Maya knew the type. Her older brother had been in the army for years. That kind of gear didn't show up at tourist shops. He barely spoke, didn't join meals, skipped the group hikes. No one even knew his name. Some of the others joked that he was an undercover travel blogger. Others thought he might be running from someone. Maya, though, wasn't laughing. She'd noticed the scar first, faint but deep, running from the base of his thumb to just under his forearm. A blade scar, clean and deliberate, not the kind someone got by accident. And last night, just past midnight, she'd caught him outside, standing in the open field behind the hostel. Not on the phone, not taking photos, just standing, staring into the tree line like he was expecting something or someone to arrive. Now tonight, in the middle of this raging storm, he was gone. Maya's brow furrowed. She scanned the room, checked the hallway. He wasn't in the kitchen, not in the bunk room. His door was open, but the bed empty. The backpack gone, and the back door slightly ajar. Cold wind whistled through the crack. Rain blew in sideways. Maya's stomach tightened. A quiet instinct, faint but sharp, tugged at her gut. She stepped outside. The cold hit instantly. Rain pelted her like needles. She wrapped her coat tighter, took a few steps onto the grass, and squinted into the storm. Then she saw him, standing at the far edge of the field, near the tree line, motionless, his back to her. The wind tugged at his coat, and then she heard it. A low, rhythmic pulse, like distant thunder but steadier. A vibration that reached through the earth and up through her shoes. Whoop, 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 whoop. Her heart stopped. It was a helicopter. She turned toward the sound just as the wind intensified. The treetops began to sway violently. The noise grew louder, closer, until a massive black aircraft sliced through the storm clouds and descended into the clearing. Maya staggered back behind a tree. Her mouth went dry. This wasn't a tourist helicopter. It was matte black, sleek, no visible markings, military style. As the chopper hovered just above the ground, its side panel slid open. From it stepped a tall woman, dressed head to toe in tactical black. Combat boots, holster, earpiece. She moved like she'd done this 100 times before. Maya crouched low behind a tree stump, holding her breath as the woman walked directly up to the man in the field. "You're off schedule," she snapped. Barely audible over the blades, he didn't flinch. "There was interference. You said this location was clean." It was, then it wasn't. She shoved a small metal case into his hands. Maya couldn't make out the markings, just the way he clutched it like it was worth more than gold. "We'll extract in 6 hours. the woman said, "but you're not to make contact with any civ." Then mid-sentence the man turned and looked directly at Maya. Their eyes locked. For a second the storm vanished. The noise, the rain, the world, all gone. She froze wide-eyed, and he smiled, not a warm smile, not a friendly one, a knowing smile, like he'd seen her long before she'd seen him. Then he turned back to the woman. "I didn't make contact," he said. "They just talk too much." "You're compromised." "No," he said, "but she might be." The woman's head whipped toward Maya's direction. Panic exploded in her chest. Maya bolted. She sprinted across the field, rain soaking her through. Branches whipped her face as she tore through the woods, lungs burning, legs slipping in the mud. She didn't look back. Only when the lights of the hostel reappeared through the trees did she slow down. Barely. She burst through the back door, collapsed against the wall and gulped down air like she'd been drowning. Inside, no one noticed. Someone was playing guitar near the fire. Someone else was passing around marshmallows, laughing, talking, as if a helicopter hadn't just landed behind their hostel, as if their lives weren't about to change. Maya didn't say anything. What would she say? She wasn't even sure what she'd seen, but she knew one thing. That man wasn't a backpacker. He wasn't lost. He wasn't wandering. He was waiting, and now he knew she'd seen him. That night, Maya locked her door and pushed a chair against it. The power flickered twice. The wind howled like wolves. She didn't sleep. At 4:12 a.m. she heard footsteps in the hallway. Soft, careful. They stopped outside her door. Her hand reached for the lamp. She held her breath. A knock. Just one. Then silence. She waited a full hour before opening the door. Nothing. No note, no sound, no trace, except her phone was missing. She found it minutes later in her boot by the door. It was dry and powered off. Maya stared at it, hands trembling. Someone had been inside, and whoever they were, they didn't want to hurt her. They wanted her to stay silent. The man with no past. The storm had passed, but the air still felt heavy. Maya stood outside the hostel early the next morning, her eyes fixed on the clearing where the helicopter had landed. It looked normal now, peaceful, as if last night had been a dream, but it hadn't been. Her phone, still mysteriously returned, now refused to turn on. It wasn't wet, it wasn't damaged, it was wiped. Every photo, every text, every trace of her digital life, gone. Just a blank screen and the glowing logo that kept restarting over and over. She hadn't told anyone yet. Not about the man, the helicopter, the knock, or the missing phone. She didn't know who to trust, especially not him, and yet he was still here. The man, Levi, she guessed, was now sitting alone in the corner of the dining room, eating scrambled eggs like nothing had happened. No one else had seen it. No one believed anything strange was going on. Maya watched him from across the room. He wore a dark grey sweater, plain jeans, clean, dry, as if he hadn't been standing in the middle of a hurricane just hours ago, as if the wind and rain and secrets didn't touch him at all. He didn't look up, didn't acknowledge her. But she knew, he knew, she was watching, and he was letting her. She sat at the far end of the table, tried to eat, couldn't. Suddenly he stood and walked toward her. Her heartbeat jumped into her throat. "Walk with me," he said softly, nodding toward the door. It wasn't a question. She hesitated. Her gut screamed no, but her curiosity said yes. Maya grabbed her coat and followed him outside into the cold morning air. They walked down the gravel path toward the woods, away from the hostel, away from the others. She stayed a few paces behind, him alert, ready to run if she had to. When they reached the edge of the trees, he stopped. He turned to her. His expression was calm, almost gentle. "I need you to forget what you saw last night," he said. Maya's eyes narrowed. "That's not going to happen. You don't understand what you're involved in. I didn't involve myself in anything. I just happened to look out the window." he sighed. "And now you're a problem." She stepped back. He held up his hands. "Not to me, to them." "The woman from the helicopter?" Maya asked. He nodded. "She doesn't take risks. If she thinks you're a threat, she'll remove you." "Remove me?" Maya's voice cracked. "Discredit. Silence. Disappear." "It depends." Maya's mouth went dry. "Who are you?" He looked at her for a long moment, then finally he spoke. "My name is Levi Cross. I used to work for a black ops unit that doesn't exist. After a mission went wrong, I disappeared. Changed names, countries, faces." She blinked. "Why here?" "I wasn't hiding. I was watching." "Watching who?" His eyes met hers. "You." The world tilted. Maya took a step back, heart slamming in her chest. "Me?" He nodded. "You're not who you think you are." She stared at him, breath caught in her lungs. "I'm just a teacher on a hiking break. My life is boring." "You were adopted," he said. Her legs nearly gave out. "How do you know that?" He stepped closer. "Because I was assigned to track your biological mother 15 years ago, before she vanished." Maya's mind reeled. "That's impossible. My adoption was closed. Even I don't know who she was." "I do," he said. "And she wasn't who you think she was either." They sat on a rock near the edge of the woods. Maya's hands trembled in her lap. Levi reached into his coat and pulled out a small flash drive. He held it out to her. "This is why they came last night," he said. "Not for me, for this." "What's on it?" she asked. "Files, records, audio, everything they erased, everything your mother knew. And they know I gave it to someone." "Why me?" He hesitated. "Because it's your blood. You deserve the truth, even if it kills you." Maya stared at the flash drive. Her fingers wrapped around it slowly. It felt like holding a grenade. "I don't want this," she whispered. "I didn't either," Levi said. Then from the trees, a rustle. Maya froze. Levi's hand instinctively went to his hip, but there was no weapon there. "We're being watched," he muttered. "Come on!" They hurried back through the woods, keeping low, Levi scanning every tree, every shadow. Behind them, Maya swore she heard breathing. By the time they reached the hostel, Levi pulled her aside near the laundry shed. "Hide the drive. Somewhere no one will find it, and don't turn it on. Not yet." "What about you?" she asked. "I'll draw them away, buy you time." "No," Maya said, stepping in front of him. "This is my life, my mother. I'm not just going to sit here. You're not trained for this." "No," she said, "but I'm done hiding from a life I never understood." He looked at her, almost surprised. Then he smiled again. But this time it was different. Not cold, not calculating, proud. "Then we do it together," he said. That night, Maya sat on her bed, staring at the flash drive hidden inside her shoe. Her thoughts spiraled. Her mother, the secrets, the lies, the knock at the door, the chopper. None of it made sense, but she knew this. She was done being afraid. Levi was gone the next morning. No note, no explanation, no sign he'd ever existed. His bunk was perfectly made. Backpack, gone. She checked the hostel's logbook. His name was never listed. Room 6 had never been assigned. No one remembered him being there, not even the front desk. Maya was gaslit by silence, until later that afternoon her phone buzzed. No name, just a number. "Unknown. Check your locker." She ran. Inside her locker was an envelope. No return address. Inside it, a photo, old, faded. Black and white, a woman with Maya's eyes standing beside a man in a military uniform. Written on the back, "They lied to you. The truth is buried. Start digging." And next to it, in tiny handwriting, "Maya, you were never supposed to be ordinary." The map beneath the ashes. Maya barely slept. The photo haunted her. That woman, her mother, had the same eyes, the same crooked smile, the same tiny scar above the eyebrow. She had always imagined her birth mother as a shadowy figure lost in a hospital file somewhere. But this photo made her real. And real was dangerous. She sat by the window of the hostel room as dawn crept in. The envelope with the photograph lay beside her. She flipped it over again. The words written on the back echoed through her brain. They lied to you. The truth is buried. Start digging. And the last line, you were never supposed to be ordinary. Maya didn't know whether to feel terrified or chosen. She waited until the hostel emptied out after breakfast. Then she slipped into the computer room at the back, where guests usually watched movies or booked tickets. It had one working computer with a USB slot. She shut the door and pulled out the flash drive Levi had given her. Her heart pounded. Was this a trap? Could it be traced? Still, she needed answers. She plugged it in. The screen blinked. A single folder appeared. VX73 Recovery. Inside, a jumble of files. Dozens of documents, scanned IDs, grainy photographs, and audio files, many labeled with just numbers, most dated 15 to 20 years ago. Maya opened the first one. A voice, female, crackled to life. Clear, calm, familiar. This is subject 03A, codename Dandelion. If this recording is found, I'm either dead, disavowed, or both. Maya's blood turned to ice. The voice. She'd never heard it before, not in memory, but it felt like her. Her throat closed. They're building something they can't control. The children, especially those of us born into the trials, weren't just trained. We were rewritten. Maya clicked pause. Her hands trembled violently. Children, trials, was she born into this? Was that what Levi meant? She opened a second file. Male voice. Subject 03A escaped containment last night. 3 dead. Facility compromised. Another voice. She had help. Someone from inside. We believe it was subject 05B, Levi Cross. Her heart stopped. Levi had saved her mother. They were connected, maybe more than she imagined. A chill ran up her spine. This was bigger than her birth, bigger than adoption. This was a military experiment, and she was part of it. Later that day, she took a bus into the nearest town, about 20 minutes down the mountain road. She needed a place to think, to print some of the documents, to make copies. She ducked into a small second-hand bookstore with a broken espresso machine and an old printer that worked, just barely. While the machine groaned to life, she opened a file titled Base Map, Obsidian Project. It was a satellite image, forested, unmarked, terrain, but there were faded notations on it. Vault 3, inactive, VX lab remains destroyed, subject 0, not confirmed dead. She traced the coordinates scribbled at the bottom. Her finger landed on a small forested zone about 12 miles. From where the hostel stood, her forest, this wasn't a coincidence. That vault, whatever it was, had been hidden right here, and someone still thought subject 0, her mother, was possibly alive. On the way out, she spotted a man she hadn't noticed before, mid-30s, wearing hiking gear too clean for actual hiking. Sitting in a booth by the window, pretending to read a newspaper. He looked up when she walked out, not at her face, at her bag. She tightened her grip on it and walked faster. He didn't follow. Yet. That night, Maya returned to the hostel late. Her nerves on fire. She found a note slipped under her door. They're coming at dawn. Burn the drive. Leave no trace. LC. Her hands clenched. Burn the drive? No, not now. Not after what she had learned. She scanned the hallway. Empty, then went to the back garden, behind the laundry shed. There she dug a small hole beneath, a rusted compost bin, and buried the flash drive inside a sealed tin, just in case. But at dawn, chaos. 3 unmarked black SUVs pulled into the hostel driveway like a funeral procession. Men in clean boots and windbreakers fanned out. No badges, no names, just purpose. They claimed to be from wildlife control, searching for dangerous animals sighted near the woods. Nobody believed it, but no one stopped them either. Maya stayed calm, pretended to be just another sleepy tourist in line for coffee. She didn't make eye contact. Then one of the men walked in, the same one from the bookstore. His gaze locked on her instantly. She dropped her mug, shattered. He smiled faintly. "Ms. Patel," he said softly enough that only she could hear, "we'd like you to come with us." The room they took her to wasn't far, just a repurposed guest room on the second floor, but it felt like a prison. 2 men sat. One stood by the door. The one from the bookstore introduced himself as Agent Rowan. No ID, no agency, just questions. "Where's Levi Cross?" "I don't know." "When did you last see him?" "I told you I don't know him," he smiled thinly. "Funny. His phone pinged near your GPS location 4 times in the last 72 hours. She froze. "GPS? My phone's wiped," he finished. "Yes, we did that. For your safety. But now you've made it complicated." He leaned forward. "You've accessed restricted government intelligence, shared stolen data. That's treason." "I didn't share anything." "Then where is the flash drive?" Maya didn't answer. He sighed. "Miss Patel, you're not who you think you are. And this life you've built, it's not yours. You're an asset gone rogue." She blinked. "Asset? Your birth was engineered," he said bluntly. "You're one of the last remaining children from Project Obsidian." Her mouth went dry. "We have your files, blood work, genetic mapping, all of it. Your DNA doesn't match any natural human patterns." "I'm not a freak," she snapped. "No," Rowan said. "You're a miracle, but untrained miracles are dangerous." He stood. "You have 2 options. Come with us willingly and get answers, or stay and vanish." Before she could reply, the window exploded. Glass flew. Smoke filled the room. Someone grabbed her arm, strong, fast, and pulled her out through the hallway. Coughing, blinded, she stumbled until they reached the stairwell. It was him, Levi. Back, alive, and angrier than ever. They didn't speak until they reached the tree line. Only then did he look at her, brushing broken glass from her hair. "They moved too soon," he muttered. "They said I'm an asset," she said quietly. "You're not. Then what am I?" Levi looked at her. "You're the last unfinished key to something they lost control of." She stared at him, then pulled the photo from her pocket. "Was she one of them?" Maya whispered. "My mother." Levi's jaw tightened. "She was more than that. She led them. Then she turned." Maya shook her head. "So what now?" He reached into his jacket, pulled out a folded piece of paper, a map marked in red. Vault 3. It's still there. And what's inside is the only way to end this. She swallowed hard. "Then let's go. Vault 3 doesn't forget." The forest felt different now. Not peaceful, not healing. It felt like it had been watching her all along. Maya followed close behind Levi as they hiked off trail, guided only by the hand-drawn map and the strange growing pull in her chest. With every step, she felt like something was waking, up inside her like muscle memory, but deeper, like bone memory. The trees closed in around them, the air grew damp and cold. And then they reached the clearing. It looked like nothing, just overgrown moss, a ring of grey stones, and a slab of concrete half buried in mud. But Levi knelt and brushed back the earth. There it was, a rusted hatch. "Vault 3, he said. "No. Guards, no fences, just forgotten history buried in plain sight." He looked at her. "Are you ready?" Maya's voice came out small. "No." But she stepped forward anyway. The hatch creaked open with a groan that made her skin crawl. A metal ladder descended into darkness. Levi dropped first, flashlight in hand. Maya followed. The air was thick, musty, cold. It smelled like rust and time. The hallway below was narrow, bare concrete walls with flickering emergency lights. Old. Signs peeling from age, VX Obsidian, Level 3, Genetic Archive, authorized access only. Her heart thundered. They reached a heavy steel door. Levi entered a numeric code into a crumbling keypad. Click. The door slid open, and there it was, a vast room, with high ceilings, metal walkways, sealed glass chambers, and broken computer terminals. Dust coated everything like a forgotten tomb, but one thing stood out. At the far end of the room, lit by a single still-working light, stood a black wall. On it, dozens of photographs, lab notes, names, and at the center, a picture of her mother, younger, stronger, wearing a black VX jumpsuit, cold eyes, a number beneath her name, 03A, below that a small handwritten note. Subject reclassified, unstable, removed from leadership. Maya stepped closer. There were notes scrawled beside the photo. Disobeyed. Direct orders. Attempted breach. Believed children should not be weaponized. Her throat tightened. She tried to protect us, she whispered. Levi nodded. She broke protocol, freed 3 subjects, hid them. Who? You, he said. And 2 others. Maya turned to him. Are they alive? I don't know. But Vault 3 was the last place they stored her voice prints. He walked over to a large terminal. Miraculously, it hummed to life after a hard reboot. Levi typed in a string of commands. A familiar voice echoed through the room. This is Subject EO3A. If you're hearing this, they failed to erase me. Maya froze. That voice, her mother. The program will claim we were unstable. They'll say we were built for war. But the truth is, we were born with empathy. We weren't weapons. We were warnings. To whoever finds this, especially if you are my daughter, you are more than what they made you. The voice cracked, softened. You were born because I chose love. You are the last piece they couldn't control. Maya pressed her hands to her mouth. Tears burned her eyes. I thought she abandoned me, she whispered. She saved you, Levi said. She died making sure they couldn't find you. Silence fell until they heard something else. Not a recording. Footsteps. Levi reacted fast, pulled Maya behind a steel beam, hand over her mouth, his gun drawn. 3 men entered the vault, not VX agents, mercenaries. They beat us here, Levi whispered. They're after the same files. Maya looked at the console. I can extract them. You'll have 2 minutes, Max. She ducked back toward the terminal. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She remembered Levi's code. She bypassed the security layer, started the data dump onto a second flash drive Levi handed her, but the noise had drawn attention. One of the men shouted, "Someone's here!" Gunfire exploded across the vault. Levi fired back, covering her. Maya stayed low, praying the transfer would finish. Come on, 80%. 93% complete. She yanked the drive out, slipped it down her boot just as the first merc ran her way. He lunged. She dodged, but he was fast, stronger. He slammed her into the glass wall, grabbing at her pack. She kicked, screamed, fought like she never had before, and then a metal pipe flew across the room, hitting the man square in the temple. He dropped. Behind him, Levi, bleeding from a shoulder wound, but standing. "Run!" he shouted. They sprinted down the hallway. Maya climbed the ladder first. Levi came behind her, barely able to use one arm. Above ground, the forest was quiet. Too quiet. Then a low rumble. A helicopter in the distance. Maya froze. Not again. Levi smiled grimly. This time, it's mine. They sprinted across. The clearing. The trees shook as the chopper descended between them, black and sleek, VX grade but retrofitted. The side door opened. Inside, a woman Maya didn't know, piloting, sharp eyes, weathered face. "Let's go," she yelled. Maya helped Levi in, then climbed aboard. The chopper lifted just as another group of men emerged from the trees. Too late. Gunfire peppered the trees behind them, but they were rising. Free. For now. Inside the helicopter, Maya looked at Levi. What now? He winced, pressing gauze to his wound. Now we find the others. If they're alive, they know how to finish what your mother started. And if they're not, he looked at her with something like pride, then you'll have to be enough. The girl who burned the safe house. The helicopter flew for hours. Maya stared out the window, eyes hollow. Forests turned to mountains, mountains to endless white snow. The higher they flew, the quieter everything inside her became. Levi had passed, out from blood loss, his shoulder tightly wrapped. The woman piloting, the one who hadn't spoken a word to Maya yet, flew like someone who had nothing left to lose. When they finally landed, it was on a remote ledge carved into a cliffside. A cabin waited there. Wood, stone, no Wi-Fi, no signals, no history. "Go," the woman said. "I'll cover the perimeter." Levi groaned as Maya helped him down and through the snow toward the door. Inside the safe house, everything was still, too still. Maya's body ached. Her mind burned with questions. But for now, all she could do was help Levi to a bed, light the fire and pace and think and remember. That night, it started. The dreams, or were they memories? She was 5, strapped to a metal table, crying. A woman with cold eyes stood over her. Not her mother, another. "You were made for fire," the woman whispered, "not love." Then came the screaming, a building on fire, her own hand glowing. Maya jolted awake, drenched in sweat. The room was spinning. She stumbled into the cabin's kitchen, poured water, looked at herself in the mirror. Her fingers were trembling, but glowing faintly at the tips. Orange, then gone. "No," she whispered, "not real." But the flash drive was real. Still hidden in her boot, she plugged it into the laptop Levi had set up earlier. The screen came to life. Classified subject 03B, Maya Valen designation, echo flame abilities, reactive cellular ignition, memory mimic reflexes, sensory duplication under stress threat level, high project status. Terminated, fugitive. Her hands shook. A log note from 11 years ago. 3B shows uncontrollable attachment to mother subject. Unfit for mission usage. Memory wipe attempted. Subject escaped containment. Presumed dead. Maya leaned back, horrified. She hadn't run away from anything. She had been hidden, erased like trash. No wonder her foster care files had gaps. No wonder her nightmares had always ended in flames. She wasn't just saved, she had been erased. The front door creaked. She snapped the laptop shut. The woman, Levi's pilot, walked in, brushing snow off her jacket. "You're awake," she said. "Good." "I need answers," Maya snapped. The woman's eyes narrowed. "You're not ready. I need to know who I am, who they think I am." The woman walked to the fire and sat. "My name's Ilara, Vault 2 survivor. I knew your mother." Maya flinched. "Did you love her?" "I respected her. She did what the rest of us were too afraid to do. Disobey." "She died." "She was killed," Ilara corrected. "VX calls it a malfunction. I call it a warning." Maya stood over her. "Why didn't you ever come for me?" Ilara's jaw clenched. "Because I knew what would happen when you remembered. Fire is grief's favorite weapon. You'd have burned the world before you knew what you were." Maya turned away. She went outside. The stars above the cabin were endless. She tried to breathe, but the air was sharp. Everything felt too big, too much. She wanted to scream. Instead, she whispered, "What am I supposed to do with this?" A voice behind her said, "Use it." Levi stood in the doorway, bandaged, pale. "You shouldn't be up," she said. "I've been through worse," he muttered, limping out to her side. He looked at the stars, then at her. "You're not a mistake, Maya. Your mother saw something in you that no scientist ever could. Love, loyalty, fire that listens." She felt her throat tighten. "I don't feel like a hero." "You're not supposed to. Heroes don't burn everything to the ground. Survivors do." Then he handed her something, a small black chip. "What's this?" "A name," he said. "One of the others your mother freed." Later that night, Maya sat in the attic, alone. He plugged in the chip a single file. Name, Callum Ray subject. 3D Ghostwire. Last seen, New Eden Asylum, Greenland. Status, unknown. Below that, a photo, a boy her age. Eyes like ice, a scar down one cheek. She stared at it for a long time. Was he like her, scared, hidden, dangerous? Or was he the reason VX was still hunting? She didn't know, but she was going to find out. Then she heard it. Glass shattering. Downstairs. Maya raced down just as Levi shouted, "Maya, move!" A figure in black burst through the back window. VX insignia. Ilara was already firing. Levi dove behind a table. Maya ducked behind the wall as more boots stomped into the cabin. 3 agents. VX had found them. Ilara took one down, but the second caught her in the leg. She collapsed, bleeding. Levi fired, grazing the third, but they kept coming. Maya's breath quickened. Her fingers began to glow. No time to think, just act. She stepped out from behind the wall and screamed. The air shimmered, the floor cracked, fire exploded from her palms, circling the room in a burst of orange light. The agents froze, stunned. Maya didn't stop. She twisted her hands and the fire bent with her, one step forward. The flames pushed the VX agents back. They stumbled, screamed, ran. And the moment they were out, Maya collapsed. When she woke, it was morning. The cabin was blackened but still standing. Levi sat beside her. "You burned them out," he said softly, "and spared us." "I didn't mean to," she croaked. "That's the point," he whispered. "You're not your past. You're your choices." Ilara limped over. "You'll need to move," she said. "VX doesn't give up." Maya stood, wobbled, but didn't fall. "I'm not running anymore," she said. "I'm going to find the others." The boy in the ice. 3 weeks later, Maya stood at the edge of the world. Snow whipped across her coat as she stared at the crumbling gates of New Eden Asylum, an abandoned research compound carved into the cliffs of Greenland. Beside her, Levi adjusted his scarf, pain flashing in his healing eyes. Ilara had stayed behind, too injured, too hunted. But she'd helped plan this last move. They'd tracked the coordinates from the chip. Every clue led. Here, the final ghost, Callum Ray, subject 03D Ghostwire. He was the last one who might have answers, or the last person who could destroy them all. The inside of New Eden was worse than they expected. Dark halls, broken wires, blood smears frozen into the walls. It had been shut down in a rush, but not without a fight. Maya's boots crunched against shattered glass as they passed rusted doors labeled Empathic Simulation Unit. Mind Response Testing. Containment Chamber, 03D. They stopped. The chamber was half frozen shut. Levi helped wedge it open. Inside, lit only by a blue backup light, stood a single pod, still functioning. Inside the pod, a boy. No, a young man now, pale, eyes closed, breathing steady. Callum. Maya stepped forward. He looked peaceful, almost too peaceful. "Why would they keep him alive?" she whispered. Levi didn't answer, but the pod did. A soft click. Then a female voice, robotic and cold. Reactivation sequence initiated. Subject 03D Ghostwire waking in 10, 9... "No," Levi said. "This doesn't feel right. Maya, back up." 6, 5. But Maya didn't move, because Callum's eyes suddenly opened, and he was staring straight at her. The chamber flooded with freezing mist. Maya gasped as her breath crystallized. Levi pulled her back, weapon up. Then Callum stepped out of the pod, barefoot on ice, completely calm. His voice was quiet. Deadpan. "You found me." Maya nodded slowly. "You're Callum. I'm Maya. Subject 03B. They lied to us." Callum tilted his head. "No. You were the lie." "What?" He stepped closer. "You think your mother saved us, that we were victims, but you never saw what she really did." Maya's heart pounded. "What are you talking about?" Callum raised his hand, and wires snaked up from the floor, wrapping around the walls. The lights changed. Suddenly Maya wasn't in the room anymore. She was in a memory, a laboratory, her mother, alive, arguing with VX doctors. "You can't control Callum," she was saying. "His empathy override is unstable. He doesn't feel guilt. He mirrors pain, but only to exploit it. He'll do what he's told," one doctor replied. "He's perfect." Then came a voice, Callum's voice. "I'm not yours. I'm no one's." And then the screen filled with flames. No, lightning. Bodies hitting the floor. Her mother injected something into Callum's neck. He collapsed. The vision snapped away. Maya stumbled back, gasping. "What was that?" she said. "What did you show me?" Callum smiled faintly. "Your mother saved you by destroying me. She locked me in here, gave them your name so they'd chase you instead." "That's a lie." "You sure?" Levi stepped forward. "Why? Would you still be here if she betrayed you?" Callum looked at him. "Because I let her. I wanted to see who she raised, what you'd become." Then he walked toward Maya. She didn't move. "You have power," he said. "Real power. Together we could bring it all down, burn VX to the ground, not just run, win." Maya looked at his hand. Everything inside her screamed yes, but something deeper whispered no. "I don't want to be a weapon," she said. "And I'm not my mother." Callum's eyes darkened. "So you choose them?" "No, I choose me." Callum's hand snapped upward. Electric threads slashed toward her. Levi leapt between them, screamed. Maya's rage erupted. Her palms lit up. The chamber cracked. Callum struck again, but this time Maya didn't flinch. She redirected the lightning, turned it back. Callum stumbled, stunned. She walked toward him, fire blazing in her hands. "I won't destroy you," she said. "But I won't let you control me either." Callum looked at her, something like sorrow in his eyes. Then he dropped to his knees. "Then finish it," he whispered. "No," Maya said, stepping back. "That's not who I am." She turned to Levi, still breathing. "Let's go." They left Callum in the chamber, alive, but alone. Outside, the snow had stopped. The helicopter waited nearby. Ilara's contact had sent it. The world below was unchanged, but Maya wasn't. She looked at the horizon, then at the fire in her fingers. Levi squeezed her hand. "What now?" he asked. She smiled, tired but steady. "We don't hide anymore." Epilogue. 6 months later. VX fell, leaked files, whistleblowers, classified footage. The world learned everything, Maya testified. So did Ilara. Levi walked without a cane again. And Maya, she lit fires, but only in places that needed light. She was no longer O3B. She was just Maya. No longer erased, finally alive. Final line. Sometimes the thing they tried to erase becomes the only truth that matters. The end.